Good evening and welcome. The Magpie Circle is back. International break for me last week. I am now successfully back from Calcutta, although you might detect from a slightly different backdrop tonight. No shirts, and I'm in a hotel in London currently on some more business. All this working is doing my head in. Not used to it, but anyway, we shall crack on. 11 games played, 19 points, third in the table. What are our thoughts on that? What are our expectations? Happy so far? Are you looking for automatics? Do you think maybe on course for playoffs? Chesterfield, for those of us lucky enough to have tickets on Saturday, what did we make of it? Wimbledon coming up. It's a tough set of fixtures we're in the middle of at the minute that I think we'll know a bit more after Doncaster as to exactly where we are in this league this season. Personally, great year to get out. No Stockport, no Wrexham, no big spenders. And I think the stat is, other than Fleetwood, who've drawn 4 of their 9 games, every team in this division has already lost 2 games this season. Yes, it's the FA Cup draw. We know that. Spotter's badge for whoever is first on the message boards and keyboards to tell us who it is. Mr. Stallard, delighted to have you on board. Let's talk Chesterfield first before we go to the flock. We're ball 34, according to Kay. Let's see what we can come up with. Chesterfield away, 2-2. Good game, to be fair. There were lots of twists and turns. I thought it was a good atmosphere, good advert for League Two. Would you take a point at the end of it all?
I would go into injury time 2-1 behind, yes. One of the few times I would have took a point. But yeah, it was a good game. And an evening to you, Paul, evening to everybody. It was a good game. I thought it was nip and tuck. I think over the whole, say 90 minutes, whatever it was, however many minutes we played, but over the full game, I think a draw was probably a fair reflection. I don't think either team did enough to warrant all 3 points. Of course, Chesterfield will feel hard done to going into stoppage time with a lead. Of course, they'll have arguments about the penalty. For me, it looked a penalty in real time on Saturday. And looking back at it, harsh though it may be, it looks a penalty again when you look at the letter of the law. So, I think it was a fair reflection. 2 good teams. I think Chesterfield will be decent. They're strong this season. They've got a few players out, just like we have. But they've got some key influential players out at the minute. So I would expect them to remain strong. And I thought we gave a good account of ourselves against a good team away from home. We remain unbeaten on the road, which is great. 3 wins, 3 draws from 6 away games is, you can't moan at that. Unfortunately, as we've noticed in recent weeks, it's just not getting them on. 2 defeats at home that's not letting us down, but it's just holding us back a little bit. Otherwise, we would be as we were last season, sort of top of the table at this sort of stage. I think we are the comparison with 4 points worse off this season, aren't we, after 11 games than where we were last season. But again, there's some fine margins in there that could have soon swung either way. So, I thought it was a decent game Saturday, but you're absolutely right. I think we're coming into a run of games now against what you'd expect strong teams, teams like Chesterfield, Wimbledon on Saturday, teams that you would expect to be decent and strong and no pushover, certainly.
Okay, we'll dive into that a little bit later. Let's get a few messages on board from the flock. Phil Summo, Spotter's badge this week, evening all. He logged in at 6:07 p.m. We're 53 minutes before kickoff. It's like getting tickets for away games now, isn't it? I know of one person who queued up for a Chesterfield away ticket from midnight. Oh, dear me. Well done, that person. Adam Kent, crikey, thought I would be first on at 6:25. Way too late, Adam. Celebrated Diggs' goal like we had won. Exciting game and great Notts support. More from the flock. Call Elvie. Evening all. Great day Saturday. Fantastic to see it happening again. Adam Kent, happy to be in 3rd spot. Some tough matches coming up. Wimbledon. FA Cup draw would be good to get Mansfield at home. I'm sure we'll be finding out imminently. Evening all from Paul Huskisson and from Kenneth Pointer. Great great day Saturday, says Kenneth. Jurgen Halligan, one of the show regulars, had a quick chat with Jurgen on Saturday. Evening all. Enjoyed Chesterfield, played well first half after coming from behind. Tough games coming up, he said. I still say we're lacking some firepower up front. Anyone else agree, says Royston. Evening from Pythagorean and David Dawes. Alessandra needs someone next to him up front. Stell should dust off his boots, says Adam. Evening all from Stephen Newton. Nigel Cameron talking about, is Kedwin Scott the answer? A.D. Clark, evening all. What a great game. So relieved when Didsy scored. Evening from Richard Elvian and from Karen Knight and from Graham Oates. Richard Elvian says it felt like a victory. Must have felt like a loss to Chesterfield. Royston, eyes down, shuffle the balls, and your first number is we're number 34. Kay's already told us that. For those of you multitasking, listening in on this podcast and probably got the draw somewhere. John Holland, hope you're watching, Dad. It's going to be another great show. Chris Gosling, we probably should have taken a point before the game, so guess we have to be happy. We're in a bad habit of not scoring when we are dominant in the first halves of late. Yeah, I've noticed that. We often start a game really well, don't we? If we don't get that first goal in 15 or 20 minutes, we never quite seem to have that level of dominance. Port Vale, I guess, would be a prime example of that. Lippy Jane, great day out to Chesterfield. Old-fashioned local derby. Hope nobody left before the end. We stayed and cheered. Cherish the point, says Gazzaly. Palmer getting back to form and fitness. Reckon with Edwards and Jones, we'd have got all 3 points. Evening all, says Ian Birchnell. Happy with the point on Saturday and would have taken that before kickoff. Dale Pikett, I think the penalty was given for Jatta's shot that hit Naylor's arm. Yeah, I think it was. I thought it was Giovanni Brown's ball going in, and it sort of ricocheted up, and the arm was deemed to be in an unnatural position. But hey ho, we got it. Don't know whether the referees organizer had a sense of irony, giving us the same referee as the playoff final. What are the odds on that? I suspect it was too much of a coincidence. Personally, I think he's not a bad ref, to be fair. Although I know that the anti-referee brigade were out in force. I didn't think he reffed it badly. Wasn't an easy game, I don't think, to referee. Okay, that's Chesterfield. We're 11 games in still. And I don't like to draw these comparisons because it inevitably leads to the comparisons between managers, and they either get character assassinated or are as hailed as the next, the successor to Gareth Southgate. And I think it's unfair. Statistically, you're right. We had more points than last season. We had more points last season at this stage of the season. It's 4 points. Taking personalities out of this and respective managers, do you think we're potentially better prepared to mount a campaign, an assault for automatic and playoffs than we were last season, or not?
That's a difficult one to answer, isn't it? Looking into the globe of what's going to happen in the future. Now, you've got to say that we've lost Macca from last season. So that's one obvious negative. And at the moment in time, we're 2 months away from getting Jody Jones available. So they're big losses, or big things that you would say would hold us back from mounting or having more chance of mounting that push. But the positive side, I would say the squad is deeper this season. I think that there's good quality and it's a little bit deeper this season. I think, again, going back to the stats, you look at the goals we've conceded, that's a lot less. I think by this stage last season we conceded 20. Well, I know we've got 20. I mean, my notes are telling me that, but we've only conceded 11 this season. So, the reason I think we're better, slightly better, I'm not going to say, we're a million times better than where we were last season. That's not the case. But I think we're slightly better prepared. Again, is we've been the course and distance We've done a season in League Two. It's
Mhm.
not all new to us. We're not where we were 12 months ago, where we were, wide-eyed and maybe a little bit naively sat top of the table, thinking, well, we're just on a roll from the National League. We're going to win it. We win every game or most games. We have all the possession. We win games, and promotion becomes a breeze. Football doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that when you step up levels. So I think we're going to be better for having last season's experience, where, if nothing else, I think it will always, for all fans almost, and us, it will just put a little bit of a reality check on any positivity or overly positive views that we might have because of what happened last season, because of that brilliant start and then tailed off and end up finished 14th. So I think it reinforces the fact that nothing is ever done until it's done. So we're not going to get carried away about a decent start. We're not going to get carried away about being third in the league at the minute because of what came in the final 6 months of last season. So do I think we're better prepared than last season? I think we've got a more solid defence. I think we are deeper in terms of squad depth for players that you really want to be able to turn to if we've got injuries, when we've got injuries, which we have had. We're sat third and we've had injuries. We've still got injuries. So we've still got to ride that sort of wave and that challenge. But I think, the depth of the squad is there. So I'm not going to go wildly over the top and say we're loads better than we were last season, because I don't think we're loads better. But I think we will be better prepared, and the players that were here last season will be better prepared to know what goes on with a 9-month season at League Two level. The hurly-burly of 46 games at this level. It's not about a good 3 months. It's about doing it for the all 46 games. So hopefully that stands us in good stead. As far as, what we're looking for, my goals have not changed. We've got to be in that mix for automatic or in and around the playoffs. I don't see anything that's changed my mind from that. I think we've got a great chance of it. But you've got to go and do it. It's easy to talk about it, not so easy to go and do.
Comments from the flock. Tim Baxter: at this point last season, other teams were still working us out. This season, everyone knows how we play, but yet we're still picking up plenty of points. Twilight Audio says, I think we need a balance between defence and attack. He goes on to say, last season we lacked defensively, but this season I think we lack that attacking threat a little. Chris Gosling says, I think Dan Crowley needs to add a bit of variety to his game, getting a bit predictable for the opposition. I mean, just kind of developing this point in terms of we were top last season. We kind of hit a bit of a brick wall, didn't we, with the likes of Mansfield and Wrexham when they came down to Meadow Lane. And you might argue that's not dissimilar to Gillingham and Port Vale coming down here. But I don't think you've got the real quality that you knew Wrexham, Stockport. Certainly, it was difficult to foresee a scenario where they would not fill two of the top three positions. And I think Mansfield were very consistent over the course of the season under Nigel Clough. Personally, I think this season for me is a fantastic opportunity to get out. For me, there is not one shoe-in side out of the 24 you would say realistically they're nailed on to go up. And the fact that every team bar Fleetwood have already lost twice would suggest that's going to be the case. And I mean, when I ask about expectations, and please, fire in what your thoughts would be. For me, I think you've got to judge this season as automatic. And I think anything else, I'm not saying it's a failure or anything, but like you say, second season in, I think recruitment, certainly defensively, has shored us up significantly. I think really we need to be judging, a successful season this season, or no lower, certainly playoffs. But I'd argue this is a fantastic opportunity to be in the top three. And having seen us play at home against Gillingham and Port Vale, Stell, Are we top 3 material at the minute? Clearly we're third, so I know we are, but these games against other teams around us, I think you would have to say we would have to do better in those games to harbour realistic top 3 promotion credentials.
Yeah, I agree with just about everything you've said there. I couldn't agree more in terms of when you look at the table, when you look at the league, and that is backed up already. We're just about at the quarter stage, aren't we? 11 games we've played. I know some other teams have played a few less, Wimbledon being a notable one. But I think when you say that stat so early on that everybody, barring Fleetwood, who've made a lot of draws, but everybody's lost at least 2 games, that tells you that it is very much as per the you imagine League Two from years ago, where on any given day anybody could turn up and perform and beat anybody, sort of thing. There's nobody who's so big hitters that they've got a squad and a first 11 that's way better than everybody else, and they'll just walk the league. I think it is as wide open as it could be. And that, you're right, you've got to see that as an opportunity to be seized, to be grasped. Somebody will grasp it. As sure as 3 teams will get automatic. It's just the way it is. Even if people's teams stumble over it, that it's got to be. So if Notts can really get playing with some belief and confidence, and they're not far away. They're really not far away. You mentioned them 2 home defeats, Port Vale and Gillingham. It's not like we got outplayed, outgunned. It was, it's turned out to be a couple of them days where you go, well, we didn't quite have the ruthlessness. We had chances, didn't take them, got punished. It's just a little bit of ruthlessness, I think, that maybe, you're susceptible to it at this sort of level. Players are susceptible to, but they've got obvious quality Notts, and there is no reason they can't be in that top 3. Again, I don't think anybody really, we all claim we know about football, but I don't think anybody, as you said, will be able to go, no, the top 3 this season is definitely going to be A, B, and C. No, I don't think anybody. I think if you put that out to everybody who's listening, and everybody's watching, you'd come up with probably about 10 teams mentioned. There'd be such a spread of teams. There's no obvious candidates to run away with it. Again, Notts could and should be one of them to be in the mix. And like you've got to set the bar at the top, set the bar high for automatic. Okay, if we miss it and get playoffs, we will take that. But there is a chance. There's a chance this season, because there is no really massive hitters in terms of budget that are blowing teams away. So I think Notts are well equipped. They need a bit of luck with injuries. We've had a bit of bad luck with injuries, but so will other teams. And like I say, it's a long season. And Jody Jones will become available again for a decent chunk of games. We've got to make sure we pick up points between now and then. We don't just sort of go on standby and wait for him to become available, because we've got the likes of Dan Crowley, Alessandro Jatta, David McGoldrick, players that can go and win games. And like I say, with that solidity and the quality of passing and possession we've got, I think in the performance away at Carlisle for the first hour, where we actually blew them away, they couldn't get a kick for an hour. I just think if they took that belief and could do it for 90 minutes, then I think, get on that momentum, get that confidence really high and belief, and then I think Notts can be right up there. But again, it's easy to say. It's down to the players to go out there and do it. And they're doing well. They're playing well. Again, it's not about where you are now, it's where you are in May. But, you just feel that if they could just seize it, just really click, then, I think top 3 aspirations are very, very achievable.
Yeah, let's just pick up a few more points. Port Vale, says Ian Birchnell, seem to be the team to beat at the moment, as they seem able to nick 1-0 wins without necessarily being the best team on the day. That's a great trait to have in the big games. Joe Crabtree says the difference between the defeats so far this season was that Notts dominated both games and were unlucky to concede offside goals. The Wrexham, Stags and Stockport defeats, we were comprehensively beaten. Nigel Bosworth still thinks we need to strengthen in attack. I think we need to bring in a new front man. Yvonne Biddle says it's MK Dons versus Wimbledon in the cup. Dear, that'll be a popular one, won't it? I tell you what, there's a good point you make, Sal. The 3 automatics, okay? Everyone fire in your 3 automatics, and let's just see the kind of diverse number of 3 clubs that you are picking to be the 3 automatic slots. Let's see what everybody thinks while we still await for the FA Cup draw. I mean, we're talking about this sequence of games. And Wimbledon have clearly, they're behind on their fixtures. I think we all saw what happened with that sinkhole on the pitch. But normal service was resumed as far as Wimbledon fans were concerned, with a pretty comprehensive defeat of Carlisle at the weekend. After what's happened with the last 2 home games, I'm not really counting the midweek trophy game. How important, Stell? Away form, brilliant. Away form is automatic, yeah. But those 2 home games have just, dampened things down at home. How important just to, get rid of this home drought, if you like, and also you made the point before the show. Being flat track bullies, if you like, beating the teams in the bottom half, not necessarily getting the requisite number of points against the teams in and around knots in the top half of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to answer the first point, yeah, it's vital. You get back to winning ways at home, particularly. You've got to make it so difficult, and it's a surprise, isn't it? Notts' home form over recent years has been unbelievably good. Okay, again, a lot of that's National League stuff, but even last year it was decent at home. So to lose back to back, that's going to hurt the players. It should hurt the players, should hurt the management, and you want to arrest that as soon as possible. And I wouldn't back against them doing it. I think the performance levels have been decent. Again, the wrong end of 2-1-0s. Okay, there's reasons behind that. We can't just go, oh, one of them days twice. You want to stop the run. You want to stop that. You want to make, you want to be hurting that teams come to your place and take all 3 points off you. So I'm sure the players will be desperate to make that right on Saturday. And again, yeah, you're looking at this not accusation, but the theory that Notts don't take enough points off the top 6 or 7 teams, which statistically have probably been proven over the last sort of 18 months. Again, you want to get the monkey off your back by beating teams that are going to be up there. The difference is, we're so early on in the season, it's maybe a little bit false as to who's where in the table. But, if somebody's up there, it means they've had a good start. They're full of confidence. They're going to be, it's maybe not the time to be wanting to play them, but you've got to play each team. The league is always playing everybody twice. And like we've said, and we've mentioned, and we did before the season, and everybody knows that without a Wrexham, Stockport, Mansfield, 3 of the bigger budgets have gone out of the division. Let's not build up other teams. Yes, we've got on paper a tougher looking run of games.
Mm-hmm.
The likes of Wimbledon, Barrow, Doncaster in a week or 2. Let's not build them up to be. It's not Barcelona, Real, Juventus, and Man United coming. That we've got to play. This is League 2 in a league that we all say is quite open and available for any team that can attack it and get a good run and good momentum and good confidence and belief going. Let's not build these teams up too much. There's a respect for them, absolutely, but let's not build them up too much, because let them worry about Notts. Let them worry about what Notts do in terms of the passing, the possession, and the threats that we've got, and the fact that we're now a bit tighter than we were last season. Let them worry. Don't let Meadow Lane become a place where teams suddenly think, tell you what, you can go there and win something. Of course you can. Anybody can win any game on any given day. But let's not make it like last season, where sometimes you have to score 4 and 5 goals to win a game. If Notts can get a couple, although Saturday disproved that, but away from home against a decent team, if Notts get a couple, you bank on them not conceding 2, 3, 4 this season. So that should, again, give everybody a little bit of belief to go, we're not going to need to score 4s and 5s every week to be winning. We're scoring plenty of goals, not as many as last season at this stage, but not bad. We're nearly not far off 2 a game. We're conceding less. The goal difference is actually better than this stage last season. Not by much, but, this season, I'm like you. I see this as a real opportunity to grab the season by the scruff of the neck and go, yep, we're not new to the level. We know the level. We know what's needed, and hopefully they can provide the goods and go and achieve.
It's Alfreton Town,
Well,
National League North. We
home
go
or away?
there every pre-season. It's at Meadow Lane. So
Okay.
there we go. My thanks to a whole host of people that have all sent it in. Home to Alfreton. I think if it had been the other way round, that would have been a guaranteed live televised game. May still make it, may not. There won't be too many teams below National League North that are still in the competition, but Notts at home to Alfreton. We'll have to wait to see whether that's a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So many games clash. I should know this, but are Forest at home on that Saturday or not? That may well affect things. I'm sure the flock will be onto that very quickly. But Alfreton Town at home, I think that's a decent draw still. I think that's a decent draw.
Yeah, any home draw. That was the bit. I mean, away. I mean, I played at Alfreton. I'm sure we've all, or a lot of us have been to Alfreton. It's a tight, ground. It's a ground that smacks of cup upset, doesn't it? So hopefully Meadow Lane is not smacking quite the same of that. So I'm sure again when it comes around, great tie, and again it'd be interesting to see what Stewart does with his team selection.
Yeah.
Again with a view to the injuries, players not having minutes, players maybe needing resting. But we want, and he will want, and everybody around Notts, we're due a cup run, aren't we?
Yes.
We are due a cup run. So thank goodness we're not somewhere down the south coast away, or right up north away. So home tie, you can't moan about that, and it'll be tough. Of course it will, because Alfreton will fancy their chances, just like was it Colville came, and teams that have
don't
come to
mention
Meadow Lane and
Colville.
enjoy
Oh,
it.
dear, yeah.
I know, yeah. So yeah, it's not a foregone conclusion, but I'm sure Notts players will be happy with a home draw.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point you make, Stel. We've not had a cup run for a long, long time. And you'd like to think there's sufficient depth in the squad for us to be able to cope with a bit of a run. And of course, it's great for revenue as well. It's great for revenue. Prize money is not insignificant these days. Each round you get through, you're talking 30, 50, 70 grand a pop just for winning. I think that's an excellent draw. Ian Birchman says, I would be really annoyed if Stuart Maynard plays a weakened team. A third round tie could be a huge cost opportunity. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it nearer the time, but it's a great point you raised, Stel. I doubt he'd play a full strength team, but it's kind of how many you decide not to play, doesn't it? And it doesn't then become a potential banana skin. Forest are at home on the Saturday, says Yvonne Biddle. So I'm sure respective club secretaries and the police will be working out what can and can't be done. That might suggest to me we become a Friday night or a Sunday. We'll have to say and to see. We clearly don't want to be jumping the gun. Right, there's a whole stack then of the three who we think will be the three automatic promoted teams. Let's run through them all. Gary Smithhurst, Walsall, Port Vale, and Doncaster. Hang on, there's no Notts County in there, Gary. Jurgen Halligan, Doncaster, Port Vale, and Notts. Ian Hayward, Notts, number one. Yeah, like that. Walsall and Port Vale. Will Morris, Port Vale, Notts, and Doncaster. Joe Crabtree, Notts, Port Vale, and Doncaster. Dale Pikett, Notts, Wimbledon, and Doncaster. Adi Clark, Port Vale, Doncaster, and Notts. Richard Elvian, Port Vale, Notts, and Wimbledon. Kenneth Pointer, Port Vale, Walsall, and Notts. Carl Elvey, Notts, Doncaster, and Port Vale. Gerald, I can't pronounce his surname, so I won't attempt. Port Vale, Doncaster, and the real Dons. Melvino says Wimbledon, Port Vale, and Fleetwood. John Holland, Notts County, Wimbledon, and Gillingham. Paul Huskerson, Notts, Port Vale, and Wimbledon. And I think that's about it for the time being. Yeah, I did find that quite interesting to one of the very last ones there. That there were Port Vale, they're doing well at the top, so I guess they are front and centre for many people. Very few people said Gillingham, and certainly Gillingham and Port Vale kind of play it's not meant to be disrespectful, but a certain formulaic system that would get you promotion. And you made that great point on the show last season when we had Richard Montague on about, you look at who got promoted last season, and Wrexham and Stockport clearly had massive budgets. Mansfield had a big budget, but there was a certain methodology, athleticism, power that all those three teams had. For me, I think Gillingham won't be far away. I know they've lost a couple after us. I don't think they'll be far away. Do you think it's more difficult, Stel, in the way that we approach the way we play the game? We play a certain way that's entertaining. Neutrals that watches on the telly, they watch Grimsby. I had people speak to me, ring me after the Chester. Oh, I watched the last one. God, Crowley, you really play this. Oh, brilliant. You look a cut above. But that doesn't always necessarily translate to grinding out results, does it? Do you think it's harder in a way, the way we are setting our stall out to get promoted?
No, I don't think it's harder. No, I don't think it's harder. I think it comes down to your quality. It really does. At whatever, I think, it's the way modern football is. So you know that teams want to play. One thing I would say, I think that I've noticed, with Stuart Maynard over Luke Williams, and again, we're not going into he's better than him, he did this.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to, a difference I've noticed is I think we aren't quite as all playing football as we were. I think there are times now when the likes of Jacob Beddoe, Matty Platt, Lewis Macari have sort of got license to put their foot through the ball and put it in Rosehead or just hack it up the pitch. Somebody did it on Saturday. We were under a bit of caution. Somebody just hacked it up the pitch. Can't remember who it was, to nobody. And you go, not say just one example is that's shown me the difference, but I've seen a few examples, or a few more examples this season where I go, yeah, that's what needs doing. You've got to mix it up. And if you listen to the top coaches, the really top coaches, Peps, Artetas, people like that, foreign coaches, they still, although they've got a process and a way of playing, a pattern of playing, it still comes down to decision making of players in split-second moments, and also they're not being predictable. If you're going to be predictable, then you've got to have the best players, because anybody within the level of analysis now, if you're playing against somebody better, they can stop you doing it. So you've got to have a way of not just being a one-trick pony. Yes, predominantly, you've got a way of playing. You've got patterns, ways of playing. But that doesn't mean it's A passes to B, B passes to C, C passes to D. And if the opposition get in the way, we don't know what to do now. There are methods of playing. We want to be a passing, possession-based team, but, that is with the caveat that we're not robots. You're footballers who can see a picture, and if the picture changes and requires you to do something different, you've got the wherewithal, the acumen, the quality, the skill, the awareness to be able to do the right thing at the right time. Decision making, make the right decisions. I said all the time, and it will never change. The best players make the best decisions and more often in games. So, I don't think we're making it more hard for ourselves. I know traditionally people say League Two, it's about battling, you've got to scrap. That's the difficulty for possession-based teams in the modern game. You've got to balance that ability on the ball with having ability and strength and drive and desire out of possession of the ball to either prevent a team that just wants to knock it long, which there aren't too many of them, but they will put the ball in your box. Teams want to rough you up a little bit. Teams that want to go a high press, fast and physical in your face. Teams that want to sit low and deep and invite you onto them and then spring a counter-attack. You've got to have everything within your arsenal to be aware and stopping their threats and having more threats yourself and being on the front foot and causing more problems than you allow the opposition to have. And that is it. It's like a game of chess, football. Sometimes it can be pretty passing football. Sometimes it can be too many passes, and sometimes it can be direct route one sort of stuff. But it's about making them right decisions at the right time. So I don't think we make it more difficult for ourselves at all. I think last season coming from the National League, you could argue maybe we were, a little bit naive to the level. Like, you could argue that the way we sort of started well and fell away. But this season, I think with a bit more experience, a bit more data in terms of the recruitment of what we need, I think they've done everything they can to strengthen where needed strengthening, without weakening, them areas, Macaulay Langstaff replacements, if you like, and Jatta and McGoldrick are doing unbelievably well, really, in replacing Macca. So I don't think we're making it harder for ourselves. I think you can play football and get out of the division, but you have certainly got to have that element of grit and determination about you, because there's no way you're going to have 46 pretty games of football all season. You've got to have grit and determination to win when it's a bit sticky, when it's not going so well, when you're not playing at the top of your game. When you play at the top of the game, I think Notts win most games. I don't think there's too many teams that live with us, but it's when, for half of the season, you're not going to play your top football all the time. So it's then about, right, then how do we do it? Plan B, maybe. I'm not about going away from what we do, but it's about plan B for me is winning. How do we win? It might be 20 passes to score a goal, or it might be patience until the 93rd minute and 20 passes to score a goal. But either way, it's about winning. We always used to have a saying, and it can never change, is that you want to enjoy your football, and the only way you enjoy it is by winning.
To be fair, says Chris Gosling, I think we've ground out more results this season than swashbuckling wins. Derek Flowers, slightly tongue-in-cheek. Sorry, no, that's the other one. Derek says, if anything is going to stop us getting promoted, it's the lack of backup strikers. Ian Birchinall, tongue-in-cheek. FA Cup, more priority than the Premier League. Get Forest to move. We'll see how that one goes. Ian Birchinall, Stell is spot on. I've noticed and commented on that too. If you can't play out, just clear it. I like that tweak. Ian Hayward, look at the England formation last week, trying something new. More teams seem to be adapting to how we play. Bob H says, our problem is we have made a really nice pitch and other teams seem to like playing on it more than we seem to at the moment. I knew this one would crop up, and I'm sure, Stel, I didn't hear the commentary, I was at the game, but I suspect you may have drawn reference to this. The short corner at Chesterfield, seconds before half time. I don't even need to repeat any of these. You speak about decisions. Is that a momentary lapse in terms of a bad decision from the players, or is that they're told to predominantly take short corners?
No, first one nailed on the head. Predominantly a bad decision taken by the players. I was watching that closely. They told us that there's a new screen in the corner. Like I said, there's 1 minute to stop each time at half time. And I said it. I did say it on the radio, so I don't know whether this person listened or was unaware or not. But because I remember it's the last game, the last kick of the season, last season at Forest Green. We had a corner, we're one behind, and we go short, and the referee blows his whistle. And you go, ridiculous. I'm all for taking short corners because we've done well from them, but not when you've played the 1 minute of stoppage time, 1 minute at a time. Now, Matty Palmer was over to take the corner, and I did watch this because we knew we could see the clock. We knew the ref was going to blow up any second. So you're thinking, well, it's a free hit because there probably isn't time for them to counter-attack, go the full length of the pitch and concede. So it's free hit, put the ball in the box. What you've got to do. Dan Crowley was absolutely screaming at Matty Palmer, telling him to play it short because, that's sort of what they do. Now, whether they were unaware of the time, I don't know. But yeah, I had my head in my hands going, oh my God, if I'd have been on the pitch, I'd have been screaming, particularly as a centre forward. You've got a chance to put the ball in the box and you don't do it. Again, I'm talking within the parameters of it being virtually the last kick of the half. The referee's going to blow at any second. Don't give him chance, but they've done it, and they did it again at the end of last season. And that is, so like I said, that is twice, and that would be something to go, look, once is okay, twice I was saying, look, use your brains, and that is not, like I say, you want to look at, okay, who do we point the finger at? He's not the coach, Stuart Maynard. If he's saying we've got 10 seconds of the game, he's not saying, no, take it short, waste 10 seconds and we'll go in at half time with a 1-1. He'd be saying, look, lads, ask the ref if this is going to be the last 10 seconds, put it in the box. But so look, players are humans, just like coaches are, just like refs are, and all that. We all make mistakes, but I was particularly frustrated at it. It's just things like that you sort of gets you shaking your head and tearing your hair out.
Here's one for you as well, and I'm sure you must have made some form of mention of this. David McGoldrick. So he's put one over the bar at Shrewsbury. I'm sure Dizzy will not like me reminding him of that, and his family who listen to the show. So fair play, steps up. The main man, fourth or fifth minute of 6 minutes of stoppage time at Chesterfield at their end. Takes the penalty. It's the actual penalty kick is saved. He scored from the rebound. Stell, head coach, do you keep him on penalties?
I think it depends who wants them. If he wants to take them, and usually penalties are decided by the players. Usually, the coach doesn't come in and say, "I want him to take," or "I want him to take." They might do occasionally, but usually the players sort that out. So look, Diddy's senior pro, played at top levels. Anybody can miss a penalty. You hit the target, saved it, and thankfully had the composure to put in what looked fairly simple and was fairly simple. But when you've just had your penalty saved in the 93rd minute for a point, you're very easy to snatch at the rebound. But he put that away. Maybe he's just going for his record. He scored 5, no penalties. He's going for Macca's record of no penalties when he scores 42 this season. But yeah, look, it can happen. Missing or having a penalty save can happen. Does that mean you take them off penalties? No, I think if he doesn't want to take them, obviously Jody took the 2 prior to that, but obviously Jody's not around, so Didzy's sort of the backup penalty taker, if you like. But then there may be somebody else who wants them, but that will be sorted out in training. That'll be conversations in the dressing room, conversations in training. But ordinarily, if he wants to take him, if he backs himself to keep taking him, I don't know as if there's anybody in the dressing room at Notts that would say to David McGoldrick, "You're not taking penalties." So I'd be happy with him carry on taking them. But again, that's an in-house thing that will be sorted. But again, it's not a Stuart Maynard decision. That is a player's decision. Well, it always was in dressing rooms I was in, and I'd be amazed if anything's different now.
Another talking point, just to tidy up, several people have been mentioning this, was the advantage that was played for Chesterfield. Passage of play continued to the point where their guy, good chance, shot over the bar. Then the referee pulled it back and gave the free kick. Now, hands up, it seemed a long time. I don't know what the rule actually is or isn't. Were you surprised, or can you shed any definitive light on that?
Yeah. Now, I was up in arms at this because apoplectic, if they'd have equalised, because it, like I say, it seemed like he let play go on for an advantage. They had a shot that only went a couple of foot over the bar, and then brought it back and gave them the penalty. And I was going as ballistic as you can go on the radio at that sort of time. But I have watched it back on the highlights reel, and I think I've got an explanation for it where I can go, I'm in the wrong. The referee was right, or the officials are right. The camera for the highlights, I've had a look at the goals and the highlights, the camera's on the opposite side of the pitch. So I think it's Colclough on his little mazy dribble, gets fouled just outside the edge of the box. The referee plays an advantage. Then the ball goes wherever the ball goes to another Chesterfield player who sets it back for a shot.
Yeah.
On the far side, you can see the linesman's flag go up for an offside. But obviously the referee doesn't spot that because play's going on and the shot comes in. So the minute the linesman gives offside, the referee can then go back and go, there is no advantage because the player who got it after Colclough is offside, so I'm giving the free kick. Convoluted way of doing it, but I think that is what actually occurred. And obviously, remember the linesmen and the ref or the assistant refs can talk via their earpiece. So again, that is why the referee probably didn't blow his whistle before the shot came in. And so what I'm assuming, if I'm right with that explanation, what I'm assuming is I forget the lad who actually shot it in, but if his shot had gone in, it would have been disallowed because the offside flag. But the referee is then taking it back to the foul that happened before the offside because he was playing an advantage, which there would have been no advantage from anyway. I think that is what the referee would explain, and I think, like I say, I was not happy at all on the day, but we were sat on the opposite side to where the camera was. I've watched it today, the goals and the highlights, and saw the linesman's flag that could be it then, because the goal, he wasn't allowing the shot because the play should have been stopped for the offside. He's saying, I'm still playing an advantage, I'll go back for the advantage to the team. So I think that's the explanation. It doesn't matter. They didn't score from the free kick, they didn't score from the shot, and it's a bit of a moot point. But I think that's the explanation of it. But I was suckered in like everybody else was at not being happy on Saturday.
Okay, that tidies that one up, and I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have known that at all. Wimbledon Saturday. Clearly, he was very popular at Wimbledon last year. It was Mr. Bass. We've signed him permanently. He was on loan at Wimbledon last year. How good's he been?
Very good, really good. I think I can remember the pass out at Bromley that led to a goal, and he did another one Saturday that just didn't quite find its man. But I think there is only 2 missteps in what is 11 games in the league so far. So I think he okay, that can happen with the amount of times goalkeepers have the ball. That's fine. He could claim an assist for Jatta at Carlisle, can't he, as well?
Yes.
I think more than that for me, I always judge a goalkeeper by how good is he at being a goalkeeper. And by that, I mean shot stopping, catching crosses, stopping the ball going in your goal. And I think he's done everything spot on. He's tidy, efficient. I think efficient is a word which doesn't get him many headlines. He'd probably like something a bit more spectacular, but I think efficient is something I would say about him. Just unfussy. Crosses come in, if they're in his area, more often than not he catches them, comes and claims crosses, saves that he's expected to make, and even some, a couple of saves he made up at Carlisle again were unbelievable saves. And he's made plenty of them. But he doesn't seem like a keeper that looks for histrionics or anything. He knows when to go down to get a little tactical team talk for his team, as proven on Saturday again, with another keeper going down for cramp. But I say, everyone does it. Exactly, everyone does it. But no, I would say efficient, unfussy, and I know they're not exciting words. I don't mean that in a derogatory manner. I think he's been excellent. So I mean that in the most positive light I can, in that I imagine, gives them, the lads in front of him, a great sense of confidence behind them.
Yeah, I think defensive recruitment has been very strong this summer, very strong. We're only 11, 12, 13 games in, if you count cup games as well. And I'd welcome the views of everyone. If you were to single out so far perhaps the most influential signing, I'd probably say Bass second. For me, Matty Platt is a quality. For me, we were crying out for a player of the type of Matty Platt, and I think slotting him into this group of players maximizes the percentages of what you need without being too formulaic to get an automatic promotion. I think it's very hard to get a promotion out of a League Two or League One without at least one Matty Platt type defender. And I think he ticks so many boxes that's required to be successful at this level.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I'd also, mention for Jacob Beddoe as well.
Yeah, very close as well.
I'd put the two of them, almost different sorts of players, but predominantly defenders who can defend. But yeah, exactly what we needed. And might be a bit strong, I'm gonna mention Rod McDonald as well. Now I know he's only played the 2 trophy games, but I've been really impressed with him. In terms of what it, like I say, seen him a couple of times. I can vaguely remember him playing against us for Harrogate. In fact, if he did, I can't remember. But I've seen him in the trophy games, and you think, yeah, that's the sort of, obviously he needs minutes and obviously needs, chance to get some proper first team games. And I'm not equating trophy games to league games, but from what I've seen of him, I think, yeah, now that's the sort of person you need pushing them players in the starting line. And another mention, not a new signing, but Lewis McCarry. I think he has been superb, and again, when you're looking to recruit, or the club was looking to recruit in the summer, looking to strengthen that defence, if you're the, in-house defender, if you like, you've been brought in previously, you might think, oh, am I going to be outnumbered here? Are they going to bring in new players to take my position? And what he's done is, by the manner of his performances, obviously throughout pre-season, obviously last season as well, but through pre-season in training, he's almost an ever-present. He's stuck his hand up and shown what a good player he is. And I think the three of them, fit pretty well for giving us that sort of extra solidity that we maybe didn't have. You could argue that last season's back three were more adept to draw it on the ball, with the ball at their feet. But I think everybody would agree that I feel a little bit more secure with the three that we've named there in terms of defending and keeping the ball out your net. And yes, of course, they're still reasonable with their feet. They have to be with the way Notts play. But I think that extra solidity is showing itself and hopefully will continue to show itself throughout the season. Obviously, injuries, suspensions and that permitting.
Pythagorean says that Matty Platt, like Aidan Flint, a similar job for Mansfield last season when they got automatically promoted. Will Morris, I really like Jacob Beddoe, has been great at gaining ground and on up front and the defensive duties too. AD Clark is not 100% happy, is our AD. Still not keeping enough clean sheets yet, though. Lippy Jane on the topic of who's been our best of our signings so far. Beddoe for me. Platt can properly head the ball. Dale Pike, Jacob Beddoe is a close second behind Platt as the so far. Pythagorean also mentions Rod McDonald, like you mentioned there, Stel. Gazzalee, here's a name. Yeah, not many have seen too much of him. Can't wait for Luca Ness to start. A colossus of a defender and very well liked during his time at Charlton. James Moore, Matty Platt has been the unsung hero. He's strong, tidy on the ball, doesn't make rash, stupid decisions, and commands his area. If we would have had him, Bass Beddoe, we'd be in League One by now. Chris B, 4 at the back with Jacob at left back and Macari at right back. We've often spoken about the 4. I don't see it, but I know there is still probably an appetite among our supporters for it. You can't have everything all the time, Stel. And I think there will be universal acclaim that defensively it's been a brilliant recruitment this summer. Up front, there are one or two mumblings and murmurings about whether we have enough attacking options. We're clearly going to be relying on Jatta. And I'm not necessarily sure he plays 40 games a season. I think, it's clearly a bit of a cultural change for him coming into an English League Two, having been in European football. It's not quite as physical. His goals per game record is unbelievable, 1 to 2. And it's worked very well for us so far this season that when he's been out, Dids has stepped up to the plate and banged in the goals himself. Have we got enough with those two and having other what you might call proven goal scoring options? Is that too much of a luxury or not, do you think? Because clearly you sign someone else who scores you 10, 15, 20 goals, they ain't going to be happy at being third choice striker, because fundamentally we only play one striker, don't we? Fundamentally.
Yeah. And this is it. And again, we for me, this is where conversations and theories about what we do, you start getting into sort of championship manager mode, don't you? Where
Yes.
We'd all like 6 25-goal season strikers just to pick and choose from whichever way the wind blows. Of course we would. If we could afford another goal scorer, I'd go, yeah, absolutely. The one thing I said, and again, this is talking, trying to stay consistent with my thoughts.
Yeah.
is that I said before that I would have liked somebody with pace. I would have liked an option with outright pace. Now, and this is not meant as any sort of disparagement against him, but we ended up with Giovanni Brown was the attacking signing we sort of ended up with on the deadline day. And I know they've sort of mentioned that we were looking for somebody else, but we didn't get it over the line. So it was, Giovanni Brown is the man that's come in, and hopefully that little, I think he can claim an assist, can he, for getting the penalty
right.
at the weekend. Hopefully that sort of can give him a bit of confidence to come in and affect a game and make a change. But that was the only thing that I would have liked to have seen. I think it just gives you another option, out and out pace to hurt teams in behind. But we've got what we've got at the minute. So, again, Jatta's scoring. I think Dave County at one point he was scoring a goal every 84 minutes he's on the pitch or something. Didsy's got 5 for the season when he started off as not being the first choice. So all of a sudden you've got 2 strikers there who've got 10 league goals between them, scored more than half the goals that we've scored in the league between the 2 of them. And still we're going, well, we could do with another goal scorer, which you always could. Of course, you always could if we could. But again, the reality, the real football club is working within a budget, within financial constraints, and also within the options of, as you said, rightly so there. If you've got Jatta, if you've got David McGoldrick, how keen are other goal scorers going to want to come to Notts County and think, oh, I might just have to wait my turn to get in the team? That's the reality. That is the reality of trying to bring players in, and then you might end up signing somebody who's maybe not good enough, or somebody who isn't proven. So you then go down an unproven route, and everyone's going, well, we should have gone for a proven goal scorer and not an unproven. Look, we are always going to be in the lap of the gods of a bit of injury. You need the look of injuries on your side. We've lost Jody Jones. That's a big loss. No dressing that up any other way. You could do without losing any more. But if you do lose them, you've got to have people who you can replace them with. I mean, for me, if Jatta is number 1, which we seem to think that he is, and David McGoldrick's your backup, then that is not a bad backup to have in League 2. Let's not forget. So, and when David McGoldrick's been called upon, he has done brilliantly. So, the fact we've got 2 goal scorers with 5 apiece in the league from 11 games, and we're saying we need another striker, shows how we've maybe been spoilt with Macca in recent years. Of course, we would like somebody who can get 30 goals a season, but I think we're all right in terms of that. And this is up till January. Again, There's a transfer window again in January. Jody might become available around that sort of time, depending on where we are in the league, depending on certain scenarios. They might look to strengthen in January, which isn't an easy window to strengthen in, but they might go and get one then. I think what you do each transfer window, have we got enough now to get us to the next transfer window? And I think obviously they missed out on whoever it was, and the next best was Giovanni Brown, and they brought him in to go, yeah, that'll do us and get us through to January, and we'll reassess in the build up to that. But I hope and I think we are all right. Like I say, we're not far off 2 goals a game scoring. We're creating chances. And thankfully, Jatta and David McGoldrick, particularly Dan Crowley as well, are scoring goals. The one bit I would like, and I mentioned it the other week, is I would like us to get a few more goals from other avenues, a few more players to start dipping in with goals. There's only Matty Platt and Scott Robertson with 1 apiece. That's any goals outside I'm going to tell the big 4, if you like: Jatta, McGoldrick, Crowley, and Jones. So I would like somebody else to start stepping up, or a couple of other players to go, just start chipping in. It's not going to be they're not going to come up with 10, 12 goals a season, but start chipping in, whether it be players in withdrawn positions, in behind the striker, midfield players, centre halves. I don't care who it is. None of us care who it is, but I think that's something we've just got to be mindful of.
Echoing your point, Chris B says we need to see some more goal threats from midfield. We don't seem to have anyone who has the knack of picking up pieces on the edge of the box. AD Clark, if Jatta stays fit, he'll take some stopping for the golden boot, but needs the service. And I think a sentiment echoed by many from Ian Burchinall. My worry is if Jatta gets injured. Dale Pike, it says we have lost Jody, Grant and Edwards from the top end of the pitch. Chris Gosling, if Notts are in the mix come January, I don't think the recruitment team will make the same mistakes as in the last January window. Coming to the end of the show now. I think we started off by saying, you know, hopes, expectations. I think it's good at the minute, Stel, that as a fan base, I think we're settling down a little bit as well. You know, we seem to be, you know, in and around the automatic places. We're ticking along okay. It's a difficult set of fixtures coming up. But I think if we can prove our mettle in these fixtures, I do detect as a fan base we've settled down a bit, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say. I mean, I don't do social media if that's the sort of way you're talking about. But I think last season, of course, we'd like to follow Wrexham by going bang bang straight through. But I think last season has brought everybody back down to earth, and just brought not saying with a bump and like, oh, we're all doom and gloom now. But I think what it's shown is, yes, we've got the ability to play at this level and be good at this level. It's also shown that this level is a bit more difficult than non-league, you know, and it's also shown us that let's not get carried away before we've actually done anything. And I think that's not just fans, I think that's players. You know, I think that's players and everybody. All of us are now looking at this season going, yeah, I think we can be good. I think we can be successful. But we all remember what happened last season when we were at this stage of the season, sitting top of the league, thinking everything's great, and finishing 14th. So you know how quickly the rug can be pulled from under your feet. Now, anybody who's watched football or been in football for any length of time knows that can happen, knows that's football. But you forget it, don't you? Because we get swept up with the emotion of each season and each period of time. We're playing well, the game's easy, we should win the league. And then all of a sudden it changes and the rug's pulled out. So I think last season has been a good grounding. If you want to take the positives out of it, it was a good grounding for us all to not get too carried away too soon this season. But I think it was not so bad, and the players are good enough to go, but let's not let it bring us down with a bump. Let's still believe we are good enough to get promoted this season automatically. We've got the players, we've got the fans, we've got the fan base at 10,000 plus average again at Meadow Lane. We've got everything there. Everything is set up, but you've still got to go and do it. And that needs everybody to be harnessed together, pulling in the same direction. You know, yes, there's going to be sticky spells like we are at home at the minute, two defeats on the spin at home. So we need to stop that. But, you know, there's no thought whatsoever, I don't think, of the fans sort of turning and murmurings of anything, this, that and the other at the minute. Obviously, you want to get that out of the way before it does become like that. But, you know, I think everybody's accepting, look, it's a tough league too. And there'll be ups and downs, but we are good enough, predominantly good enough to be right up there. But we've got to go and get them results.
On that positive note, have a great rest of the week. We look forward to welcoming Wimbledon on Saturday. It's Alfreton in the FA Cup home game. We shall be back next Monday as normal. Thank you very much for all your participation tonight, for all your messages, your thoughts and your observations. Respectful as always. We look forward to seeing you next week. Stel, thank you as always for your time. Although there is a rumour going around, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Us loyal fans are all heading up to Barrow next Tuesday. So presumably, you'll be going to Barrow as well, will you, Stel, for BBC Radio? Because you take your duties very conscientiously, don't you?
I absolutely do. There is. Unfortunately, I won't be at Barrow next week. There is a little milestone that I am not going to be here for. Unfortunately, I've got a bigger than I would like birthday coming up, so I'm not here next week. I'm here for Saturday and I'm here for the following Saturday.
You're 60 already.
Yes, have you got a bleep machine on this?
This is the big 5-0, yeah.
I get to raise me back, yes, next week. Yes, unfortunately. So I'm making and I tell you what, I've been saying this for months now. the first thing you'll see after I'm 50 is me with glasses. I've got to book my eye appointment. So I'm determined. I've said, at least in years to come, I'll get my eyes tested when I'm 50. At least in years to come, I said I had to wait till I was in my 50s to get to start wearing glasses. So, yeah, my eyes have been failing me. So I'm desperately waiting for my birthday to come so I can get down Vision Express and I'll be able to see things a little bit clearer. But, yeah, I'm not there at Barrow. I'm there Saturday, but I'm not there at Barrow, unfortunately. And it was booked, just so people would think doubtless, it was booked before the fixtures came out. So I was not going to be wherever we were. And it usually works that I end up missing home games. But this time it's been a little bit kinder. I'm missing Barrow away.
Hey, what a brilliantly timed date for your birthday, though. Barrow
Absolutely,
versus Notts.
yes.
Hey, they're already coming in the happy birthdays from Ian.
Cheers, thank you, everybody. Yes, thank you.
It's my 50th in November, says Kay. Ian Birchnell, happy birthday, Stell. It's all downhill now. So I'm sure
I've been going downhill for a long time.
I'm sure people are bringing you cakes and all sorts up to the press box on Saturday. So you got no chance of fitting in under that tight seat now.
I don't need any more cakes. I'll never get in or out.
Thank you ever so much, Stel. Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
We look forward to seeing you. Well, I'll certainly see you next week. Whether Stel's already on the 50th birthday bash straight after Saturday, and then I'll be up to Barrow. Oh, I should also mention Acco, who all of you know. He's been to even more away grounds than me to watch Notts County. But he and Nico Dowd, he reminded me to make mention of it. For when Notts were at Carlisle, they were in Alicante on the morning of that game, flew back to Newcastle, and then went across through Hexham to Carlisle, and then watched the game, then went straight home. So that's a pretty good trip and a half. So well done to Acco and Nico Dowd. But I've just also got to get this one in, gratuitous plug, in the Battle of the Notts County Supporters Sunday morning derby fixture, Stell. I'm sure this will rivet to you. In the top division of the East Midlands Public Authorities League. It's a tough division, this top division. Right. Trousers, who are Notts fans, that's Acco and Nico Dowd. 2, Mapley United player manager. I did do a half in pre-season at 61. 4, a good result for the boys. Our first win of the season. So I'll get that one in as well. So there you go. Stel, thank you ever so much. Have a great 50th.
Cheers. Thank you. Will do.
And let's hope we get into the party spirit come 5 to 5 on Saturday. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.